If you've ever seen one of my videos before, you know I'm big on remembrance and that it shouldn't just be for Remembrance Day in November. And I'm currently in a very, very beautiful, picturesque place that does it just exactly that carries remembrance on all year round. So join me and I'll show you some of the highlights from the National Memorial Arboretum. The National Memorial Arboretum, situated in Staffordshire, was opened in May 2001. It was the brainchild of Commander David Childs, CBE, who, after visiting Arlington Cemetery in the US, thought the UK needed somewhere similar where remembrance can happen all year round. There are over 400 memorials in a 150-acre site. These memorials serve to remember the armed forces by service type, regiment, association and role. Specific campaigns since the beginning of the 20th century are also commemorated at the Arboretum. And here is the first memorial that I've come across here at the National Memorial Arboretum. So this is the Parachute Regiment Air Forces memorial, and it bears the emblem of the Air Forces, which is, and I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, it is Bellerophon mounted on the winged horse Pegasus, which is the main feature of this memorial. And it's very, very striking memorial, but there's actually a really nice touch at the front of the memorial, so let's go check that out. The front of the memorial, you've got the emblem of the Airborne forces there, as I just described, and then you've also got this really nice touch of a para soldier, and he's actually, what is he towing or carrying? He's pulling his Bergen, which I think is a really, really nice touch. It humanises, you know, it's not just that this is the regimental badge and this is what the regiment did. It's, you know, kind of putting a face to the regiment, and I think it's a really nice touch. And as well, this sculpture of the para soldier is actually sculpted by a former major of the parachute regiment, a chap by the name of Mark Jackson. Here is the second memorial that I wanted to highlight today, and this is straight from We Have Ways of Making You Talk, so Al Murray and James Holland are definitely can take the credit on this one. And this is the memorial to the Fleet Air Arm, as it states there. And Fleet Air Arm is obviously often kind of overlooked. You think Navy, Air Forces are completely separate, but they're actually not. In fact, you know, they worked kind of hand in hand, and I've got quite a lot of information to delve into about the Fleet Air Arm, so let's take a look at that. So, the Fleet Air Arm on the 1st of April 1924 was created as a specialised branch of the RAF. On May 24th, 1939, the Fleet Air Arm was placed entirely under Admiralty control, meaning it was now independent of the RAF. So, like I said before, you know, they did used to work hand in hand, and then eventually they kind of were separated and they became their own entity in the Second World War. So I just thought I'd take a pew. I'm currently just sat looking at the Fleet Air Arm memorial here, and I wanted to delve into the history of the Fleet Air Arm because, you know, listening to We Have Ways, you get a kind of sense of it, but I really wanted to delve into it, and it was really interesting. So what I found was that in September 1939, the Fleet Air Arm comprised 20 squadrons with 232 frontline aircraft and 191 training aircraft. Aircraft included carrier-based fighters, torpedo bombers and reconnaissance models, so a really broad mix really of everything, so they're capable of doing a lot of missions and sorties. Arguably the most famous Fleet Air Arm aircraft was the Fairey Swordfish, or the string bag, as now it is championed by James Holland and Al Murray as the unsung hero of the Second World War, and I definitely think that, you know, if you haven't seen one, you know, I'm sure by magic one will appear now, a picture of one will appear, and it was referred to as the string bag because you could fit so much into it, because it could do so much things, you know. And you look at it and you go, that's a biplane, how could that do anything in the Second World War when aircraft technology has moved on so much, you know, with the Spitfire and the P-51, but turns out it could do a lot, and it was very, very successful. You know, two of the most biggest highlights of the Fairey Swordfish was that these planes hunted the Bismarck and attacked the Italian port at Taranto as well. Two massive naval and air battles of the Second World War, really. You know, the pinnacle of the fleet air arm, I think, were those two battles. Also, even though we're not talking about RAF specifically, I couldn't help but get excited when I came across the mention of submarine Seafires, which I always knew about, obviously. You know, if you're a watcher of the channel, you know that I love Spitfires and all that ilk. But the Seafire was also used by the Fleet Air Arm from 1941 onwards, and actually, fun fact, the last versions were the Seafire F Mark 47 and FR Mark 47, which they were actually the last model of Spitfires to be produced in 1949. So I think that's a really nice tie between something that I love, the Spitfire, and the Fleet Air Arm, which is something that I've really grown to appreciate and take an interest in kind of an unsung part and branch of the Second World War. So we made it to the last memorial that I wanted to show you today. There's so many more memorials here. I would love to fit them all into one video, but it's just not going to happen. But it's an excuse to come back. But anyway, yes, here is the last memorial that I wanted to highlight. And this is the Burma Railway Memorial. And it was created to remember those that were forced to construct the infamous Railway of Death during the Second World War. And this is actually 30 metres of the original trek from said railway, which blew my mind when I read that fact. That, you know, really did. During construction of the 258-mile railway, over 16,000 POWs and 100,000 labourers died, which I know sometimes, you know, the Second World War can get a bit nitty-gritty with numbers, but I still think numbers are important in certain situations, you know, and I think this is definitely one of them. So I think this is definitely, not to discount any other of the memorials, but this one's really powerful. You know, it being an original piece of track, yeah, very special, in a nice remembrance sort of way that it's special. Yes, there we have it. There is my very brief visit to the National Memorial Arboretum here in the UK, and yeah, it's been really nice. Like I said, there's so many more memorials. I came across, I was taking pictures after picture thinking, oh, that's cool. So it's definitely an excuse to come back to make another video, so that'll be nice. So yes, I hope you enjoyed. If you're in the area, come and visit. It's a bit of a drive for me, but you know, I don't mind. It's history related, of course I'm going to do the drive. But yes, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to share, like and subscribe so you don't miss out on one. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.